Yo ho ho! Merry Christmas! And what's your name?
Katie.
Katie. And what should we give Sheffield United for Christmas, Katie?
3 points.
3 points? That's great, that is. And would you like a lolly?
Yes, please.
You would? There you go. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas from the Greasy Chip Butty to you and your friend. Right there. What do you think we should give Sheffield United for Christmas? Ian Wright! Ian Wright, he thinks. Would you like a lolly? Can they afford it? That's what I say. Have a lolly, there you go. He wants Ian Wright. What should we give him? Hey? What should we give him? Romario! Romario for Sheffield United, you heard it first here. Have a lolly. Oh, they're queuing up for Christmas. What do you think we should give Mr. Bassett for Christmas? Some money again! How about a lolly? There you go. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody! Nice, what are these lovely ladies now? Oh, must be here. Oh dear. What am I going to do? Just give me a second. Come on, come on. What are you all? What are these lovely? Oh dear, which one again? Oh, come round the other side, come on. Don't miss the camera, it's all a bit of fun, Trudy. Come on. Because it's on there. There you go. Sneaky news. Oh, lovely. Oh dear, what's my friend? Oh, sorry. Oh, it's a Greasy Chip Butty, this is. We're live and exclusive at Bramall Lane. Did you get that, Elton Wellesby? Live and exclusive. Would you like a lolly? No, you can't have one. You've got to answer some questions first. Oh dear. So what should we give Dave Bassett for Christmas? What do you think we should give Dave Bassett for Christmas? £3 million. And what are we going to do with that money? What are we going to buy? Who are we going to buy? You heard it first here on the Greasy Chip Butty. Who are we going to? And what's your name?
Ian.
It's Ian. It's Ian and Santa here live on the Greasy Chip Butty. We've got £3 million to spend. What are we going to buy? Who are we going to buy? You heard it first, live and exclusive.
Well,
Tell me now.
We don't want Brian Dean.
We don't want Brian Dean back. Who do we have? A centre forward, a centre half. A Father Christmas up front. And Ian up front. Oh dear, oh dear.
We want the nice benefactor.
Shall I give you a lolly now? You're being good, Ian. There you go. Thank you very much.
What we should do is use it for illegal payments to sign young players like top clubs do. Like
Illegal payments to sign young players.
That's right.
Did you hear that? Yes. Should I give them on a lolly? There, isn't he nice? Isn't he a nice man? So what would you like to give Sheffield United? What would you like for Christmas? A book? She wants a book. You want to sign? You want to play for Sheffield United? She wants to play for Sheffield United. You heard it first here. Oh, would you like a lolly then? Shall I give you a lolly? Yeah. Hey, I hope you're going to be good. I hope you're going to be good. Because I won't bring you anything if you're not good. Okay then. Have a lolly then. There you go. Get to bed early on Christmas Eve or I won't be there. What's your name? Les, it's Les here, live and exclusive on the Greasy Chip Butty for Christmas. And what do you think we should give Dave Bassett for Christmas?
A good present, Tom.
A good present. And what would that be? What should we give him?
Good chairman.
A good captain.
A good captain.
And a good chairman.
Just keep looking at that. And what do you think we should give Reg Braley for Christmas?
Nothing.
Give him another nice. I'll give him a Christmas.
You'd give Reg Braley a Christmas box. How about that? Would you like a lolly? Les?
Please.
There you go, Les. Merry Christmas to you and your
Same to
family.
you, Bel.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas. What's your beard's name? What's your name? This is Ben. And Ben, what should we give Sheffield United for Christmas? Carl Bradshaw, he tells us. Live and exclusive on the Greasy Chip Butty.
Bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to say United win away. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to see United win away.
Oh! How about a lolly? Chip Butty, this is the Greasy Chip Butty here with a Greasy Chip Butty. What can I say? And what should we give Dave Bassett for Christmas? Some money. And what do you think we should give Dave Bassett for money?
Lots of money.
Lots of one to win today then, lads. Oh? Little girls?
No.
Oh. Right then, can you answer us a question?
Yeah.
What would you like for Christmas then?
United.
A United kid. What should we give Sheffield United for Christmas, Aaron?
Pick a new player.
A new player. Any suggestions?
Andy Cole.
Andy Cole. Andy Cole. We've had Ian Wright. We've had Andy Cole. What else? What else I asked? Give him for Christmas, eh? What should we give Dave Bassett for Christmas? Alan Shearer. He's very shy, this guy. He's a very nice boy. He'll get his
Untried kids.
Anyway, would you like a lolly? Would you like a lollipop, youth?
And I'd like a packet of Park Drive
A packet of Park Drive
and a rabbit for Christmas dinner.
and a rabbit for Christmas dinner. What should
And, oh, wait a minute, I want a special thing, please. Reg Brealey's resignation, please.
Reg Brayley's resignation. Anything else? What should we give Dave Bassett?
I would like, Dave Bassett, I would like to give him £20 million to spend.
£20 million.
And-
Jack Walker for Christmas.
Yes,
you heard
yes,
it first.
yes.
Jack Walker for Christmas. Have a lolly.
Thank you,
Have
Santa.
a lolly.
Oh,
Look
thank
at
you,
this.
Santa. I'll have a red one, Santa.
I hope you're going to be in bed early on Christmas Eve.
I will, yes.
He will. He'll be in bed early on Christmas Eve.
I
Look at
want
him.
a lollipop.
She wants a lolly.
Never sent us any further letter to say he wasn't coming, but he announced last Saturday on Radio Sheffield that he wasn't going to meet with an independent supporters association. He was only interested in people who supported the club. And that he wasn't going to meet with anybody fair weather fans who were prepared to criticise us at the moment things started to go wrong. So I think we can form our own judgments from that comment. He was a bit more moderate in his comments in the Star during the week. So that was the reason that we met this morning. Obviously he's done a U-turn with us like he's gone with Bassett on the money. I don't know whether anybody else has seen the papers this morning, but according to at least 2 national newspapers, Bassett's put in a request to spend £100,000 on Starbuck, and Brealey's denied that. So that's that sets the scene, I think, for today's meeting. If we can go on then to take a report on membership, and if I can ask Ray Kinsey to do that as the chair of the recruitment group that we've set up. Ray's just over there.
So far is that in the main, we've, as you'll know, we've been outside the ground every home game, even the Anglo-Italian Cup games, us fair weather supporters. And we plan to be there for every home game. There are tables at the 4 corners of the ground. So if you know anybody who wants to join, who's not here today, just direct him to the tables outside the ground. Our hope is in the future that we'll be able to have leaflets in pubs and shops around Sheffield. We haven't done that so far because the leaflets, particularly since the Barnsley game, have just been snapped up. And we haven't had any spare to do that. We do need help with the recruiting group. You probably know that the steering committee has 4 subgroups, and the recruiting group is one of them.
Membership of the committee, the steering committee, is purely voluntary. We want anybody who wants to help to be on those committees, and if you would like to help, get involved, think you've got something you can offer us to help us make Biffa better and to succeed, then please speak to one of the committee members before you leave. Leave them your phone number, and you're welcome to come along to the meetings. We want as many people as possible, and we want a lot of input from Blades right across the board. Anyone who's got a view on Sheffield United and wants to help Biffa, please join in. Now, Howard on my left is in charge of our press and PR committee, which is responsible for all these press statements and appearances on the radio and television. I'm on that committee myself, which is why I spend some of my time on Radio Sheffield, like this morning. I should say that Radio Sheffield has been very, very fair to Biffa, and we'd like to thank them publicly for the time they've given us Every time an issue arises concerning Sheffield United, they invite us to go on the radio, they ring us up for comments, and they can't be fairer than that. You'll have seen that we've been on television occasionally, I think probably about 4 times now, and we do get very good coverage in the Sheffield Telegraph. Regrettably, however, that only comes out once a week on a Friday and isn't as widely read as the Star. The Yorkshire Post is showing a very keen interest in Biffa, and you'll have seen a number of interviews with members of our committee in that. And the national press, certainly for these regions, are taking an interest. You'll all have seen that magnificent picture in the Sunday Mirror of the red card protest, and we have regular contact with reporters now from all the major national newspapers. The problem that we have is unfortunately with the biggest and most influential paper in Sheffield, and that is the Star. It is the Star that continually calls us all militants and rebels, and there seems to be no way of persuading them otherwise. And unfortunately, we do have a problem in getting our message across to the people of Sheffield that we are in fact ordinary supporters, and that we just want the best for Sheffield United, and that we're concerned about the fortunes of the club under Mr. Brearley. But for some reason, the reporter that covers Sheffield United seems to say we are militants and rebels, we're undermining the club, and also seems to be implying that we're responsible for Sheffield United's poor performances. But we will carry on regardless and get the message across, and the best way of doing it is obviously to hold meetings like this, and also for you to go away and speak to people who are United fans, whether they go to the games or not, and tell them what Biffa is about, and hopefully persuade people to join that way, because the local newspaper, the Star, won't give us the time we think we need, won't give us the space to put our message across. They seem to have this angle that we're militants, we're out for causing trouble, and that any minute now there's going to be petrol bombs and shots fired in John Street. If you want to do that, of course, someone can propose it later and we'll take a vote on it. But we are in touch with another influential organisation, and that is the Independent Fans Association at Manchester City, who in many ways are our role model because they were instrumental in getting Swales out of Man City and getting the fans' choice of chairman in, which is Francis Lee. And it's a matter of public record that the pressure put on the chairman there by the fans to go was the main factor that made him drop his price and go. And we think, as you'll hear later, that that is what we should do now, but that's going to be a decision for you all to make. And something which is important that I should repeat that's been said at the previous general meeting is that Biffa is a one-member, one-vote organisation. You can only have one share, there can't be any takeovers, no matter how much money you've got. Everyone here is as important as everyone else, and we want you all to participate fully in the decisions, and we'd also like more people to come to committee meetings. We arranged a meeting with Derek Dooley, as you all know from the newsletter, on the 6th of October, and we put to Derek Dooley the questions that the members wanted answers to. And you'll also see from the newsletter that he answered some of them, but with other questions, particularly fundamental ones like what's happened to the money, he sort of rather nervously said, well, I'll put it to the board and see what they say. He said he was going to come back to us, and he didn't, so I rang him the next week, and he said, oh yes, Reg Brearley will come to your meeting. And I said, well, can you give us any answers to the questions? And he says, no, Reg Brearley will give you those at your meeting. We thought, okay, let's give him his chance. He then actually delayed in fixing the meeting, and eventually he fixed it for today, which was at that point quite a long time ahead. And so we were a bit disappointed with that, but there were various reasons given, such as he was going to India, and we know that's not true because they wouldn't have let him out again. But almost immediately after he'd agreed to the meeting, things went from bad to worse, and we all know what happened with the results, where we had the 4 defeats in a row, and the complete U-turn by Brearley, saying Bassett has no money to spend, a matter of a few days after Dooley told us in no uncertain terms that Bassett had 600 grand plus whatever he could raise from sales. So on that basis, he would have had close upon £1 million after he sold Jamie Hoyland and Franz Carr, but now he's got absolutely nothing, not even 100 grand to buy a Huddersfield reserve player. And also it became known that there were these bids, certainly the McDonald bid came to the public notice around that time. The next major thing that we organised was the red card protest. Now, the press reports locally suggested that it was lasting for a few seconds and that was it. I think those of you who went to the game will realise just how successful it was, that of the 11,000 there, I would say 10,000 were holding up the red cards. Certainly we gave out 10,000 red cards, and the clearest possible message was made by the supporters to Reg Brearley that we want him to spend or go. And so we were looking forward to meeting Reg today to hear him answer the fans, because it was clear that the fans wanted him to spend his money, and if not, he would have to come and meet with us, tell us his side of the story, and answer the questions that the fans want the club to answer about the money, about the stand, and about the future intentions. So we were going to be completely fair, give Reg his say. But no, Reg suddenly comes out with a statement saying he doesn't want to meet us, he's suspicious of us, we're not Proper Blade supporters, says we are fair weather fans, and won't even send his right-hand man, Mr. Pritchett, to speak for him, as he normally does. So that is disappointing, but I think it clearly shows that Brearley, who says he's concerned for Sheffield United, is really concerned for his own wallet to see how much he can put in it before he leaves. The real problem at Sheffield United is that there is a majority shareholding and there is one man who owns the club and effectively makes all the decisions. And I think that if Mr. Brearley were not in the club anymore, I think it's the view perhaps of the other directors and a lot of people in the club that the other directors, the minority shareholders, would perhaps play a more active part in Sheffield United and we could really get the thing going. It's been suggested that there is not investment in the club at the moment because those other shareholders are wary of what Brearley is intending to do, and they're waiting to see what happens with his shareholding before they decide whether or not to invest. And also it's been suggested that the bank could perhaps lend a bit more money, but they aren't happy at the situation at the moment. Now,
can we move on then to a report on the discussions that we've had with the potential buyers, which those discussions have been through Howard Holmes and Alex Waugh. And I'll ask Howard to kick off on that.
Yeah, we split these tasks up and it was agreed that I'd bring up Mike MacDonald, which I've now had a couple of phone conversations. Then did send me a letter. Unfortunately, he wrote strictly private, confidential and not for publication on the top, which I thought was a bit really against what I'd asked him. So I rang him back yesterday, having received the letter, explained that there might well be press at the meeting today, and that could I have some guidance as to what he was prepared to release. This has been a bit of a problem all the way through with Mr. MacDonald in this sense. What he said was that he was unable to make public statements because he had signed a confidentiality agreement with Reg Brearley that prevented him from going public on the details of his bid, and he was afraid that if he said too much then the bid could fall through because of that. And he also said that confidentiality agreement covered the other two members of his consortium, which he wasn't prepared to give the names. I asked him specifically about Dave Bassett, bearing in mind the questions that had appeared, the story that appeared in the Telegraph yesterday, saying that MacDonald wasn't a Bassett fan and that if he took over the club, then perhaps Bassett would be on his way out. What he said was that I'm very open-minded about the manager. He said, I don't know the man. He said, my number one priority is to get Premier League football at Bramall Lane, and the first thing I would do as chairman would be to sit down with Dave Bassett to discuss what he felt we needed to do to achieve this aim. So I think basically what he's saying is he'd like to meet Dave Bassett first of all and make his own assessment. I asked him specifically again about the John Street stand, and he agreed that we could say this, that it will be our intention, once we have taken over, to ensure that the ground improvements are actioned immediately. So that I'm afraid is all he was prepared for us to be able to share, although he didn't tell me a great deal more anyway other than that. And specifically the details, the financial details of his bid, we're as much in the dark as most people. What he did say, I think probably no harm in sharing this. In fact, all of the other people, as I understand it, have said the same thing, that they want to be able to run the club as a business, presumably make some money out of it, and increase their own personal profile.
Do we know who is the director, chairman of?
It's Texas Metal Industries. I think he deals in scrap, but he also deals in engineering as well. He also owns hotels. We know that he is a guy who, at least on paper, has got many millions of pounds and should be able to have the clout with the banks to raise the sort of money that he's talking about when he says 10 million quid for players. What we don't know is who the other two members of the consortium are, whether they've got any money, and if they are of the same financial standing as Mike McDonald, then I think we can safely assume that they would be able to raise 10 million.
His discussions with Martin Burke and Stephen Hinchcliffe.
Who knows why people want to own football clubs? There's a bit of glamour in it and so on, and if you're lucky enough to have a spare million or two, then it's an enjoyable hobby. One of the first problems you come up against is, what is the price? What is the price for Sheffield United? One of them told me it's not worth anything, actually, to be honest with you. And the other one said, well, what it's worth and what it'll get is a different matter, but perhaps it might be a couple of million or so. So there is no sale price, and one of the two people concerned has actually made an approach and still doesn't know the price. But briefly, anyway, the background to these two people and their attitudes. Stephen Hinchcliffe is perhaps more well known because he does have a kind of a public image. He's the owner of the Tyre Rack group of shops and Salisbury's leather goods shops. He's flamboyant, he's extrovert, he's got some energy. He's got some ideas. He's certainly had a look at a lot of sporting activity in America, what goes on at American stadiums and so on, and sees some potential for developing Sheffield United with some of those ideas taken on board. He's appalled at the state of the club. He's a Bassett man. He's a big admirer of Dave Bassett, and says that people can criticise him, but he's never had any real financial backing. His personal approach to it is perhaps as you would expect, because it goes along with the sort of things that most of us here would think. He believes that there's a need for a quick cash injection to strengthen the first team squad. He believes that we should get on and build the stand as quickly as possible. His philosophy for doing this is much along the lines, I believe, that he has for his business affairs, in that he wheels and deals and borrows and so on, and achieves his business success in the business world that way. And he believes that that would be the approach that he could apply if he was involved in the Sheffield United board. Who I've spoken to for a couple of hours, Martin Burke from Wombswell in Barnsley, is the person who could possibly front up a consortium. Martin, I didn't know much about Martin Burke at all. I only seen a little bit in the Star about him, and it wasn't until I spoke to him I got to know a lot more about him. His company is MP Burke, civil engineering contractors. He's a very wealthy man. He would admit to being one of the wealthiest men in South Yorkshire. Currently engaged in big contracts, putting in cable television and so on all over the place, and perhaps a bit unpopular that way, but a very, very committed Unitedite indeed.
he would like to play a part in the revival, but not at any price. Again, he's a Dave Bassett supporter. He says when people are critical of Dave Bassett and that, for example, that he doesn't spend well when he spends big and so on, he points out that he's never even had a £1 million player bought yet, and so he's totally untested in that area. And the one thing that he is very, very sure about is Bassett's honesty and straightness, and points around the football world as we see it at the present time with a great deal of dishonesty about and so on, and saying that that's the kind of manager you want, is an honest manager who is trying to build a team by recruiting people, shall we say, up to their mid-20s, not the sort of man who goes out and perhaps buys somebody for £1 million or £2 million who's 31 years old and who the club are never ever going to get their money back on, and so on. Anyway, he's a very modest man. He ducks. He's not interested in becoming part of the media circus. That's not his way of doing business. It's quite clear about that, and that's why you don't see too much about him in the press. I've formed the impression of a chap who's very shrewd, very intelligent, down to earth, and far-sighted. He would like to be a director of Sheffield United Football Club. He makes no bones about that, but on his own terms. He's his own man. And he's definitely the sort of person who really would answer some of the points that have been made earlier. He's not prepared to go in at any price. He would only go on the board where he felt he was serving the club with people of integrity. So that's his particular approach. However, he, as you will have read in the press, did make an approach to Reg Brearley. The nature of his approach was this, that he would put £250,000 into the club in order to obtain a place on the board. As a gesture, if you like, a starting position. What he wanted to do then was he wanted to look closely and thoroughly at the financial situation of the club and find out, whether any skeletons in the cupboard or whatever. As he put it to me, that's the way he does business. If he takes over another business, he has accountants crawling all over the records and all the rest of it, and he knows what he's buying, and then he does a deal. And that was the way he wanted to approach the situation. And that has been rejected. He told me yesterday, and he's authorised me to say this, that following my approach to the board 3 weeks ago, I received a letter on Thursday from Reg Brearley refuting my idea of joining the board, but saying that he would welcome a bid for the majority shareholding. That wasn't the basis of my approach, and I will be writing back to Mr. Brearley on Monday.
Hi, and welcome to the first in the series of Flying the Flag. This evening we visit the Don and Dern branch of the Sheffield United Supporters Club.
got £5 million for his shares. You know, get it inside. Fans make him play stuffer.
I mean, I'm a fan of Dave Bassett. If it weren't for Dave Bassett, it wouldn't be in the Premier League. But I just feel he's got to lash out at somebody every so often. And it's once a year that fans, isn't it? Probably once a year that players. I just think I think it's a bit tough. In fact, like fans all over the country, you pay your money, you go and support. I mean, we're down to hardcore fans now, aren't we? And I think it's a bit sad that he feels he's got to lash out and have a go at us.
Itself and its public relations and its image. And it's about time, I think, that they sorted themselves out. We always seem to be washing the day-to-day in public. I know we've had a ordeal, the fans, but even day-to-day running of the club always seems to come over badly as compared with the Premier League clubs and First Division clubs. They sort their problems out behind closed doors. And I agree that we've got problems, but I think, as has been mentioned in evening press today, like I don't agree with everything Bassett said about Saturday's match, about the atmosphere. I think in some ways the players come nigh behind that.
Support going through turnstiles at Bramall Lane. If we carried on and we didn't say a word, there'd be just the same in another 20 years, I know that. That's not to say that I'm fully behind what's going on at the moment, because like even when we went in Social Club on Saturday, like Mick said, you could see there was an atmosphere. That was an hour and a half before match kicked off. There was an atmosphere, and it's not very nice, and anybody else.
I'm a fan of Dave Bassett, because we had him, but sometimes I don't know if he feels he's got to lash out. That statement he said he thinks fans would prefer it if we could lose, then we could rip seats out of the top. I mean, that.
I think that there's room enough for two organisations. I think it's something that can run side by an organised supporters club. But then there's a niggling doubt, like Saturday, which it's not necessarily Bifford, but if they put things in people's minds, I mean, you're talking about 13,000 people, could it be retrograde, like getting back to first question, could it be retrograde then? Some of what Bifford's built up and some of what Bifford's started, what's been taken along, we've gone on a flow, supporters have gone on a flow, and could that be retrograde? I don't know, like, I've got mixed feelings. The 75% of me that says great, it's a platform where really we can make us voice, and then you've got like a doubt whether it's pulling team back a bit, like Mick said, whether, well, all arguments really what cropped up on first opening statement.
Is Bifford totally against getting rid of Braley, or is it about something else?
Well, at the moment it seems to me that it's totally dedicated to getting rid of Braley.
And once that's done, if it is done, what happens to Bifford then?
Well, that's
I imagine the guilt situation then and see how we going, how we progressing.
Well, I thought their objective was to get a real say on the running of the club from the fans' point of view.
That club will listen to it.
If they keep what they said, they want to get the fans to the position that will get them to board level or whatever, or get the club down to the grassroots, if you like. And if that's the opinion of what they've got, then it's only got to be good for Sheffield United. Because everybody that goes there pays out. I mean, if you could take an average cost of somebody paid to go to a match on a Saturday, it's roughly about 25 quid. We kind of got whatever the transport is, a couple of drinks in it, and the majority of them haven't even got the same what's going on. So if people can get that through to everybody, yeah, I would agree with what they're trying to do.
I must admit, we had two representatives from Bifford at our meeting, and they seemed to know what they were on about, didn't they?
Yeah.
And everything they said were right anyway. It would apparent, not 7 days later, that everything they said were right. So you've got to give them a bit of credit for it.
Certain sections of the club can use it to their advantage. You know, there's a fine line to draw, isn't there, how far you go with an organisation. And it's like, I think Bassett hid behind this demonstration to justify a poor team performance. We've got to contribute a bit of that to the organised demonstration.
The bloke comes in, but he's got any money behind him or what he's got. As long as Brealey's got 3.5 million or 4 million, that's all Brealey's interested in, and he don't care less whether we build houses or anything on Bradmore.
Well, I don't know, because he's been quoted as saying in paper that the guy who takes over must promise to build a new stand and must provide funds for new players, which he's not done. I think that's where Brealey's always telling him. I might have a bit more respect for him if he got a ground that we're all paid for, we didn't owe anything to anybody. If he didn't issue these statements that stand's going to be built by start of next season, or we're going to start it such and such a time, or Dave Bassett's got money that he generates from transfers to spend on new players, and it just never happens. Next statement again, we've got no money.
I said in the last season, even though we got relegated, all debts are gone. Bassett's generated nearly £1 million from transfers, and there's no money to spend. So where does it go?
I mean, we've got to a state now where we're asking Huddersfield to let us have Starbuck on another month's loan while we try and find 100 or 150,000 to buy it.
Right, do you go to see United?
Yeah.
How often do you go to see United?
Well,
There's not been a season ticket.
the only way, if I don't go, I'm working.
Right then. Why do you go watch United? Because they give No, this is it. No. He's not seen what it looks like.
He's just shouting at the trucker, he ain't going to bring.
No, to be honest, I go there to get rid of all my frustration of the week, and I come out more frustrated, and I go out and I go.
Where's the party Sheffield United?
Right.
Where's the party Sheffield United since Byron?
No, I support them for years.
Yeah.
Well, I played ever since started school, and it was always my ambition, even from being a little boy, to play professional football. I went to Loxley Council School, which is between Malenbridge and Bradfield.
When did you first join Sheffield United?
I joined Sheffield United in 1951 from Norton Woodseats, the Yorkshire League club.
Because at that time United didn't have a junior side.
No, they didn't have a junior side then. They had three sides: the first team, the reserve team, and what they call the Yorkshire League.
First team debut was
1952, in Southampton at the Dell. I came in at right fullback when Fred Furniss got injured, and it was a great day for me, and particularly to win the game on the debut. That Teddy Davison came in to see me, and he said, Fred Furniss is injured and you will have to play at Southampton tomorrow. So I said, he said, I want you to be at the railway station at 6:30 to travel to Southampton. I said, 6:30? I said, I live out in Dunworth in the village. I said, my first bus is not for 8 o'clock. So he said, be there, 6:30. So I had to get a taxi to get down to the station. I remember that as though it was yesterday. Oh, we had to go to London and change onto another train. For about 5 hours, I think, in those days. 5 hours. We used to do a lot of train journeys in the 50s. here, Altrincham, in 1950s, late 50s. And they're running on league club, as you know, and they beat Liverpool in the third round 2-0. And it was all what they were going to do to us, you know, in the fourth round. And it was a great day for us because we really got our tails up, you know, after what they said they went to do. Roy Paul, he was playing Manchester City, was playing for them then. And we had a great day, we won 2-0.
Players in the Sheffield United side, going back, thinking of people like Joe Shaw, Jimmy Hagan, Derek Pace. Well, what did you feel like playing in the same side as people like that?
It was great to be able to play with such great players. At that time, we had a very good team of, well, I would say most of them were star players. And it was great to be involved with them. And we had a lot of success whilst playing together. Yes, used to, I think we had about 6 players from Sheffield area in those days, when I played. 6 local boys.
The best player that United's ever had.
Oh, he was a good player, very good player, yeah. Never got to know Jimmy very well, anybody, because he was always a bit quiet. Always dashing off to his business, which he had a sports shop, as you know, in Sheffield. With Albrook, and once, he didn't always train with us anyway, because of his business. He used to do it on his own. But he was a good player, very good player. The game was a bit slower in those days.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they did different eras like Kerry, you know, I mean, Kerry was a good player, but they were different in as much that Jimmy did it in a quieter way, where Tony was a little more exuberant, you know, a bit. You know, so. I was made club captain in 1957-58, I think, and I stayed club captain for about 9 years.
How many goals, and which would you say stood out of the goals that you did score?
I think I only scored 4. Right, full-backs didn't score many goals in those days. I think the one against Swansea, which was about 30 yards. I enjoyed that one. In those days, at full-back, you had to play against a winger every week, which is not so as today. And most of them was internationals in those days. You had Bobby Mitchell from Newcastle, Mike Farland from Aston Villa, you had Tom Finney from Preston, all these great players. And it was a great incentive to go out to know that you were playing against such great players on that particular Saturday. And I used to go out with the intention of being the better man on the day. And I think if you go out with that type of enthusiasm, that type of thinking, you will invariably come out on top and master your winger. And that was always my attitude. I must be the boss on the day. I believe whilst Joe Mercer was manager at Sheffield United, 1959-1960, he left to go to Aston Villa. And during that time, I got some information from someone that Joe Mercer was interested in me going to Aston Villa, but it never came to fruition. And I don't think at that time, because Sheffield United were then in the First Division, and I don't think that it would have been any beneficial for me to go to Aston Villa from Sheffield.
Do you think you retired too soon?
I think players always feel they can go on a little longer, and I felt the same. But John Harris at that particular time felt that Len Badger had progressed sufficiently to take over my place at right full back, and he knew that he would do a good job in that position, and he felt at that particular time that it was the right time to bring Len in, and he asked me to go into the second team and bring on the youngsters and to do the coaching at the same time, and I enjoyed doing that. And in our second year we won the Central League Championship, and that was great for me, great feeling.
coaching and training as we're still involved with football?
I think you always miss your playing, but what you missed from playing in a Saturday, you enjoyed in the week playing with the lads. Because once you've done your coaching, your training, etc., you used to finish up and have a little kick around, get together and join in with the lads in a little five-a-side for the last quarter of an hour or so.
Just recently United have scored 6 goals. In fact, the last time previous to that was when Seth was manager against Cardiff. I don't know if you can remember that.
Yes, I was caretaker manager.
As caretaker manager, yeah.
It's very difficult to say that because I preferred the coaching side to the managing side. I always enjoyed coaching players, and if I'd have been offered the job, I would have accepted naturally. But I had a feeling from the start that they would bring somebody in from outside, and it might have been a good thing anyway.
Who was the best manager you ever worked with, or alongside, or for?
I always admired John Harris for his approach to the players and the way he commanded respect to the players. The man before him was Reg Freeman. He was also a great man. He knew his football and he used to know how to treat players, know how to talk to players. But I thought John Harris, who was a very likeable man, was my favourite.
How often do you put back to the lane? Do you still go back to the lane?
I've only been back to the lane twice since I left actually. I find it difficult being in business to get across to watch matches. It doesn't, the times of the matches are not suitable to my work.
Eventually leaving Sheffield United, was this the first business that you took up?
No, when I left Sheffield United I took a business at Southey, a news agency at Southey, and I spent about 4 years there, and I thought it was time to move on to pastures new, and I was looking around Sheffield for another one, but I couldn't really find one, and then I found this one in Cheadle Hulme, which I felt was just what we needed, and I've been very happy here. And now I'm looking to sell it and probably go into retirement. Difficult to... Well, I shall always remember, I've always admired Sheffield United. It's always been a good, friendly club. Always what you might call, a real family club. And I don't think you could play for a better club. The only one thing that disappointed me about Sheffield United over the years is that they seem to have lacked a little bit of ambition, even when I was there as a player, even when I was there as a coach. I just think that their outlook might have been just a little bit further afield.
Right, we'll conclude that and wish Seth every happiness when he does choose to take up his retirement. Thank you very much for sharing your precious time with us today, and good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I wish everybody at Sheffield a very happy Christmas and a prosperous New Year, and Sheffield United Football Club all the success in 1995.
Ooh.